No se escuchó desde el inicio. Ah, ok, lo pongo de nuevo.
I think he muted himself, that's why.
Okay.
And can I just say,
Ok, perdón, no sé qué pasó con la imagen esta vez.
sorry, the sound was not so good, but you're welcome to share that with the group anytime you want, if you want this. Yeah, no problem, because it's, yeah, good. And this video I did during the pandemic in honor of George Floyd. Yeah, so that's why I look a little sad at the end, but that's fine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Did you want to share some of the photos from the first 3 teachers so far? Yeah, why not?
Sí.
Yes. All right. So mi primera profesora, Ellen Thompson. So she's the one that I was mentioning that she used a similar method of Suzuki method, but translated in French with the little French folk songs and not, you know, the other ones that we might use in this country. I had, yes. So the second one, yeah. And yes, 8 years old, and that was my camp. The second one is at the camp, and then you see the group. We were like a big group of kids in the lessons. Yeah, my sister is right there with me too. Yeah, and then Douglas McNamney, who was principal violist in the on the left there. Yeah, who was principal of Quebec Symphony, teaching Quebec about. I had him for about 4 years, and then you can see me in the next photo is at Domaine Forget International Music Festival. Some of you might be, you might already know this this festival, Domaine Forget. It's quite international. Yeah, and then Emmanuel. Yeah, Miguel, he's associate dean, and then he's also coordinator for the chamber music program.
No, eso es lo más que me da la pantalla.
Yes, Emmanuel Vardy, and that was a master class, one of the first master classes I played, and I have an interesting story to say about that. I learned quite a lesson on this.
Moment. Ahora, ahí está.
Yes, I played the Chrysler Prelude and Allegro, and I had been, and I've been playing and working on this for a few months, and I go and play for him, and he asked my teacher, "Is she just starting?" Well, he asked my teacher if I had been just starting this piece. He thought I had just started it. Yes. Yes, and I had played this for a few months, you know, and so basically the lesson here that he taught me, he asked me, "Do you listen to opera?" And I'm like, "No," because you know the there's so much rubato in this piece, and I was probably playing like really, you know, very plain and just no phrasing, no rubato. So that's why I asked my teacher if I was just starting, because I was just playing the notes, and he said, "Miss, you need to listen to opera in order to play this and be able to do these rubatos." And I would always, I remember to this day, and I teach my students, listen to some opera. You want to have a lot of brilliance and rubato and a lot of phrasing. I mean, it's really helping. Anyway, this is a lesson that I learned that day. I thought I knew the piece, but obviously I didn't know. And I was about 14 or 15. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, well, he was a terrific guy. Fue un tipo estupendo, en todo sentido, o sea, inteligente, cariñoso, generoso, intuitivo y tuvo mucha paciencia. Era un gran profesor, pero era un gran virtuoso de la viola, un gran virtuoso que tuvo mucha fama de haber tocado un recital en Carnegie Hall, ¿no? De viola, que era un poco inéditamente, creo que fue la primera persona de hacer eso. Y yo lo que recuerdo que él es muy chistoso también, porque cuando yo llegué para mi primera clase con él, él tenía la viola sin el hombro, ¿no? Para tener más facilidad para subir arriba. Entonces yo con mi viola así, y entonces yo entré y saqué el instrumento de estuche y él dijo, ¡ay, qué viola tan rara! como que la mía era la rara. O sea, me enseñó las cosas que aprendí en mis clases con él, he usado todos los días desde entonces, con mis alumnos, conmigo misma. Increíble.
Yes, thank you for sharing. It's great. And I still remember hearing him in the recital at the Manforget. It was incredible. It was like, wow, people can play like that on the viola, you know, like very virtuose music and with a big viola sound. And just like, I was like, wow, he can get around the viola. It was really incredible. Anyway, so I learned my lesson that day to not play things boring, but play them with a lot of imagination. And yes, and then so moving on, so Douglas went to Montreal, so I was learning from François Paradis, and François was very, very passionate player. He studied with Robert Verabes, a wonderful Hungarian violinist in Montreal. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but that was his lineage. So very passionate player, and you know, he would say, you know, you have to play more, you have to be expressive, and you know, I think I got a lot of that from him, the musicality of things. And then he met Victoria Chang, because a good friend of ours, a cellist, French Canadian, Joanne Perron, was teaching at Harrod Conservatory, and he said, hey, maybe Marylène could go and study with Victoria Chang. So that's how I got the connection of going to Harrod, and that's where I met Edmundo. That was in '93. So yeah, I graduated from the conservatory in '93 in Quebec, went down to Florida. I stayed 1 year. The plan was to stay a little longer, but Vicky, I think at the time, was going to go and teach at Hart School of Music, and she said, hey, you want to come, you want to audition at Curtis? I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, that was always my dream, but I had kind of decided, okay, I'll just stay at Harrod. I didn't think I'm going to go audition at Curtis, and it was my last chance. Well, last year I could audition because of the age limit. I think I was 21 at the time. So, yes, yes. Verabes. For many, many years, yes.
Brother.
Or assistant or something, I'm not sure, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, very good. And one thing I forgot to say is she would, Vicky was wanted me to maybe be her assistant in Hart School of Music if I didn't get into Curtis. So I already had a backup plan. And this is just a tip. I always tell my students, make sure you always have a backup plan for everything. So that was my backup plan, but luckily I got into Curtis. So I was really happy. And you can see the next photo is Vicky, Heidi Castleman, and Ellen Rose. Sorry, they were playing a game. That's the only photo I could find, but I went in Aspen on a fellowship in '94, right around that time. That summer I was studying with Vicky. And it was quite a team. It was really incredible. Ellen Rose was focusing on mainly orchestra excerpts. Heidi Castleman mainly on technique. I had private lessons with her, and Vicky. I mean, they all did master classes. It was just an incredible experience. I wish I could still be a student and go back and see all these master classes again. So I went to Curtis. I was there for 3 years. Do you want to translate that for now? Yeah. Yes, and Vicky, I always see her as like the doctor. She was really good at detecting little problems and fixing everything. She was really good with exercises, and so I learned so much from her. And then when I got to Curtis, I don't want to get too personal, but I had been burned out a little bit from graduating conservatory, and then I didn't feel so good the year I was in Florida physically. But I got to Curtis, and I'm holding my viola, and I just got into that school, and I feel disconnected to the viola. And Karen Tull came in my life at the right time, where she could help me really reconnecting with the instrument, feeling good in the body. So the instrument doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just holding a piece of wood on my shoulder and I don't know what to do with it. It felt so unnatural to me. I never thought about, oh, how do I play the viola? And I had to rethink about everything. And she was the perfect teacher for that. And of course, some of you have seen Sheila Brown and some of the disciples of Karen Tull talking about the coordination. So she really, really helped me. I was studying with her 3 years, and it was like perfect. Like she came at the moment where I needed her. Great.
Yes.
Great. Yes. Great. Yeah. So Curtis was just a wonderful experience. I worked with Felix Galimir, who was a very famous violinist. Which quartet I can't remember now, but maybe you guys know. So he was my coach in chamber music. Yes. Mhm. Yes, and this is just an interesting fact, but I don't mean to drop names or anything, but Hilary Hahn was the leader in my quartet for 3 years, and before she became all famous and then she took off, and but it was a great experience. I learned a lot with Galimir, and of course she was a little baby back then, but anyway, soon enough she was a big star. So that was a wonderful, I like that experience. Karen Tuttle also taught chamber music. She was incredible. Also, Steve Tenenbaum, and last year he joined the Curtis team. So, and then you can see the next photo after Karen Tuttle, the photo you see with Karen Tuttle, that's my graduation recital, I believe. And then you see it's Robert Vernon. And next photo is the Carnegie Hall with the Salty Project. And it was a one-time project that George Schulte, great conductor, organized. It was, we stayed in the dorm at Juilliard and we rehearsed on Carnegie Hall stage every day. And they had some of the most wonderful principals in the country. Like, so Bob Vernon was our coach for viola. And I've done other festivals, National Orchestral Institute, also that was Roberto Diaz. My coach at Curtis and orchestra was Roberto Diaz. So these are all my inspiration and wonderful teacher I've had for orchestra excerpts as well, for the orchestra training. Viola, was it? Possibly. There's, yeah, the name doesn't sound familiar, but I'm sure. I mean, I would have to look at. You mean Rafael? No, I don't know. Where's Rafael from? Brazil. Yeah, I would have to look at the photos, and yeah, it was incredible. Really, really intense orchestra festival. It was wonderful. Yes. So this is, this is the, people that were there in my training. All of them. I think I got something amazing from all of them. Learned so much, and yeah. So I try to share some of these things with all my students today. I've been teaching privately for about 24 years or over 24 years now. I'm in the Pittsburg Symphony, like I mentioned before. So right after Curtis, I was already at the Pittsburg Symphony. So my last 2 years at Curtis, I decided I should start taking auditions just to see where I fit. I had no idea of the level or anything. So I started taking auditions, and I took Pittsburg was my 4th audition. So my second year at Curtis, I decided I'll take 2 auditions. I did Louisiana, I made it to the 2nd round, and then Principal in Charleston, I made it alternate. I was alternate, and then actually not alternate, sorry, runner-up, sorry. And then I did Cincinnati the following year, and I was alternate. I was like, okay, I need to get the other one. So it was really, really stressful because I always got to the end, but then I didn't get the job. So it was like frustrating. But every time I had the auditions, I would take notes and see what went well, what could be improved, and I don't know. So I auditioned in Pittsburgh, and that was my last audition, and it was scary because the deliberation at the end, I had to wait for a long time. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be alternate again, but I ended up winning, and it was incredible feeling. I feel like it's winning the lottery when you get a job like this. But of course, I had worked really hard for this, and we can talk a little bit more in the discussion if you have questions about auditions, audition preparation, all that. Mm-hmm.
O sea, salió como en segundo lugar.
Yes. Yes. Well, like I said, Vicky, well, do you want me to go back all the way to before? Because I mentioned. Yes. So yeah, so Vicky, like I said, she was a very good in detecting little problems and give you exercises. We did a lot of scales, and but also one thing I forgot to mention also, like stage presence and openness of the sound, like making the sound bigger. I remember I think my sound really opened up in that year, and talking about opening up the chest playing and feeling. She talked about stage fright, how to deal with that, and she would have us practice come on stage. I don't know if you remember that, Edmundo, at Harriet. I still remember that in Aspen they would have us come on stage and bow and talking about the breathing, and so different aspects like this to help with feeling comfortable. And one thing I was doing is I used to crunch down here, the chest. I mean, she really tried to open up the area so the playing is open and not, often when we want more sound, we tend to press down instead of opening up and keeping the support of the instrument with the bow. So all of these things, I think she was really, really excellent at those kind of things. Do you remember that, Edmundo? Maybe you can add to this. Yes, very good. Yeah. And then I mentioned also that when I went to Curtis, Karen, the coordination and feeling the posture and balancing just everything right physically, so you can connect to the instrument and you can actually incorporate your body to make a better sound, or at least, I mean, like you'll hear Sheila Brown next time, right? She's like the master at describing all of this, but she really came in the time in my life where I felt that I needed that reconnecting with the instrument. And so she was really, really good about that. And about the sound, how to produce the sound, how to release the neck, and that make sure the body doesn't have any tension. So this is what I feel that I retained from Miss Tuttle. And then this other technique things like, you know, how to phrase and how to group notes in the phrasing. I mean, that's another subject beside just the feeling good and having the right posture and all that. Very good, very good. Oh, he was, sorry, I forgot. I didn't have a photo, so I completely forgot to mention him, but I studied with him my last year. So I was doing a little bit of both Karen Tuttle and him, and we were focusing on excerpts mainly. And I have to say, I didn't actually play much in his lesson, but he would actually play for me. And it was amazing. It was just, he would sit there and his sound, the musicality, the vibrato, it was just so really, really warm playing, and it was so inspiring. I think I learned more just watching him than actually me playing and telling me what I should do or what should I not do. But I worked on some of the solo excerpts mainly, because, you know, he was in the Boston Symphony for 20 years and then 30 years in Philly Orchestra principal. So he really knew how to play big and soloistic. So anyway, so watching him, this is all I remember really from the lessons with him. Yes. And well, I always loved, see, you know, mhm. Well, so I didn't have private lessons with Roberto Diaz, but my first experience was in '95 National Orchestral Institute. He was the coach, and I still remember just being inspired, like a little bit like Robert Vernon, like listening to them play the excerpt, like wow, okay, I really like their style. There's something about their style of playing that I really liked. And the next time I worked with him, I was principal of the orchestra in Curtis, and I was principal. I remember playing Alpine Symphony, and there's all these wonderful Oh no, sorry, also Zarathustra. And there's all these viola solo parts, beautiful parts in the divisi and the beginning and some solos. And I remember him talking a lot about balance, and they were like, listen, he would say, please listen to the young people. There were people younger in the group that had never played orchestra. They were new at Curtis, and he was really always saying to try to blend in, talking about the sound and the section. And when I had the solos, trying to feel like playing chamber music. I think that's what I got mostly from him. Of course, I only had a few sections that year. I don't think it was every single week, but yeah, it was about ensemble, listening, chamber music, blending our sounds, and I think he's a great musician. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yes. Are there any questions so far about, I don't know, this? I think that's it until we talk about other things like my career and.
Marylène,
We.
ahora la ponemos.
Should I show this one?
Ay, bailando contigo. Ponela de nuevo.
It's probably first time I was learning salsa.
I can see again.
Oh, I see.
It's historic picture.
I found this. Yes, I wasn't sure it was you. But anyway, I found it. Yeah.
Hace muchos años. Qué bueno recuerdo.
Yes, 92. Well, yeah.
I have the question.
Yes.
Sobre el sonido. Marylène al principio de esa visión o esa inquietud que le transmitieron sus primeros profesores sobre el sonido, pero viéndolo un poquito más técnico, traduciéndolo en lo que es el movimiento del brazo, codo, posición de la mano, ¿qué es lo que más ha podido rescatar de esos aportes para tener ese sonido de viola que ella tiene en mente? Edmundo.
All the goodies. Yes, all the good. Okay. You'll have to take. Okay. So it wasn't high fits. I used to say somebody came to see him backstage and they said, "Oh, your violin sounds so beautiful. What is it?" And high fits goes, "I don't hear anything." I love this because it's true. I mean, the instrument has a sound on its own, but you're really creating the sound. And I really feel that the sound has so many components and elements. Of course, the posture, the way your body is all balanced and aligned and relaxed, and you use gravity, and you know, you should be able to produce a beautiful sound that is effortless, you know, maximize. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, feeling that you're using the maximum, the weight into the instrument, right? Your body, the muscles must be grounded. That's what I feel. That it should be. And again, Miss Talo was just so amazing at describing all of this. Yeah. And of course, the sound, you must have the fundamentals and the bow set properly on the, I mean, I work, when I get the students, I work on the collet. Is everybody familiar with the collet? The flexibility of the fingers and the hand position. And I make sure this is, the mechanics are all working first before, you know, we can really draw the sound. Yes, I can do that. So the collet is basically the exercise I usually do is I break down the bow in 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in order to do, I just changed my strings yesterday, so it's not. All right, so I of course, first I work the mechanics. I have a whole bunch of exercises, you know, starting with, this sounds very primary, you know, like working the flexibility of the fingers, doing the spider, very simple, right? It looks easy. Yes, and of course, setting up, sorry, I have a rubber band there, but placing also the hand on, making sure that the roll of each finger, that the thumb, you know, we got the ring, the thumb is flexible. Very important. If you have a tight thumb, the fingers will be tight and the wrist will be tight. Everything works together. If your pinky is tight, the wrist also is tight. So yes. So the thumb and the middle finger kind of are the center of the bow hand, and the thumb again in the corner. The placement of the thumb is very important in the corner, so it's flexible, not underneath, because that also will lock it underneath this here. So I like to think at right at the corner that. Mm-hmm. Well, I said that this is your center point in the center of the bow hold. Yeah. Yeah. And understanding also the role of these fingers is to support, you know, so the bow stays straight. It doesn't go, you know, back and forth like this. So little, you need support. Yeah. Yeah. And then the pinky is to balance the bow mainly at the frog, of course. And to try to avoid I call this Mount Everest here. This is Pittsburg hills, round hills, right? So again, if that's tight, the thumb is also tight. Yeah. Yeah. So that's your balance at the frog. And you see, I mean, you've heard maybe of the repull, the mistletoe repull. So you need that flexibility also to pull the sound and really sinking into. So don't try to pronate like this all the time. Okay, that takes a lot of effort. You need to feel like you're spreading the fingers a little more on the bow overall to get a little more weight. So not just the index. The index, yeah, I mean, I don't like to give all the weight on the index. I try to gauging how much weight you want to put in, but it should not be all on the index. You should feel it's more balanced on all the fingers, especially at the frog and middle. So not. So yeah, and of course, when depending on how the bow's moving, the thumb and the fingers move together, thumb and fingers. I call this the octopus. You know how the fingers stretch and it retracts together, stretch, retracts, stretch. So you go to the tip, they stretch, the frog, they retract. So you can think of that. So it's always in motion, whatever you're both doing, it's not, you're not stuck and bracing with the thumb. Sorry, what did you just translate? Sorry. Okay. Okay, so I was saying the pinky, okay, little the support of the frog, because you know if you don't do that, then the tip will fall, right? So supporting, and then the index, feeling the weight is a little more spread out over the whole hand and not just pronating. Yes. And then I was talking about the motion. So it should be flexible. So wherever you are in the bow, the hand follows, like the I call this the octopus, where it's stretch. I mean, retract and stretch. Yeah. And how tight should you hold the bow? Really important. That's one of the first thing I do with my students. I hold my bow and I said, okay, now pull the bow. And then if they're trying to pull and I'm going like this, that means I'm really, really holding tight, right? But if they go like this and my hand is moving, then it's fine. And then sometimes they pull the bow and they go like, they can just steal the bow from me. So that's too loose. You don't want it like wimpy either. Do you want to translate just that? Yes, and feeling wherever the fingers are touching the bow, feeling kind of it's that flexible glue. Okay, not crazy glue, but yeah. Yes. Yeah. So when these make the position is corrected, then I work on the, like I said, the spider, making sure that the thumb is bent the whole time. And then anytime they do a little checkup, the fingers are nice curved. I really think that having the knuckles lower, the base knuckles here, lower, you can really get more ground and then really sink into the string more than if it's like this. By doing this, you're blocking everything. Yeah. Yes, I do a little trampoline work too, where I have the students also, most of the time, the students will come in with the knuckles completely locked. It's like they really use these joints here. So I'm having them do a little trampoline work, right? Up and down, making sure it's flexible. And it's amazing. So, and then the spider, and then I have the pinky flex, making sure that the pinky is also flexible. Sorry, I have a counter here. I can't do that, but I let the bow drop. But see, no tension. And then I have to push back with the pinky, come back to the initial position. Getting this. Yeah, what do you call the teeter-totter? Between the index and the pinky, nice and flexible. Yeah. So, and then I work on the, it's called this collé motion. So this is basically when you're in kind of a middle position and where like the tip, but as you can see, it's a sideways motion, and it's never like, well, I mean, we do a little bit of, when we do the repull a little bit, but it's a little more this way. So not upward, so down. So your hand is always grounded, feeling, the monkey bar where you hang, feeling of that hanging feeling on the bow. Yeah, feeling really close to I like to feel my hand like really close to the stick, not kind of up like this. See, very good. So this motion I do, so middle, tip, middle, that's frog, or, contact point here. And if you want to practice the repull, if you've seen Sheila do that, it's like the up, it's almost like doing this little curve underneath and up again, right? So a little more balancing the hand towards a pinky. So this is just showing the different position of the hand, depending on where you are on the string. Do you want to say that? I mean, where you are on the bow, yeah. So depending on where, this is the collé, just showing the different placement of the hand, depending on where you are when you're drawing the bow. See, yeah, and then the collé motion is basically, this is the hardest one usually, but I have a student put their hands, can you see? Pushing up, just getting the full flexibility of the fingers. We're pushing up the bow. We have to keep it nice and straight. And yeah, and when the student master that, then we're ready. Gradually, we can go a different angle and eventually flat. And then the little kids, you can have them do that on the shoulder. But I don't like to do this with my own hair on the bow. And then we start on the string, right? And we do that collé motion just with the finger. So I'm only biting the string for, yeah. And then I do the frog. So that's going to help for the bow changes of the frog. Sorry. And then the tip, same thing. And also, of course, making sure that your arm is always grounded, feeling it's hanging from the string. So what we're working on is that little extension when you have a bow. It's down and up and. Yes, it's that little extra, I call this the little extra cushion area for the bow changes to be nice and smooth. So we did the separation, and then we do the collé without the stop. So. Yeah, and then the frog. It makes me shake sometimes. And then this one. Too much coffee. Same thing as the tip. And then we do a combination, which is we break down the bow. So here we start the frog. Stop. And then, no, you go ahead. You can translate if you want. Yeah, so stop, and then the collé. Stop again, up. So you see, when you do the collé, you're in the position to go up again. Stop. Yeah, And then you can do that the same thing with the non-stop. So stop, calling. Yeah, and so you have that. Eventually, it's that paintbrush motion. And when we paint, we don't go. It's a beautiful natural down and yes, yeah. So of course, this is the mechanics of how the hand should move along with on the bow. And of course, I have the students to help out with the gravity and feeling heavy. I say that left hand, right hand needs to feel really, well, we start basically from the root, right? Yeah, really feeling the root, right? When you have first of all, I do the checklist, and that's what Miss Tuttle used to do. And she'd do the checklist from the bottom up, feeling that your feet are rooted to the ground like a tree, right? And that she used to say that the knees needs to be flexible, like you need to feel like jazzy in the knees. That's what she used to say. I love that, and I use that a lot with my students. Like, you should not lock your knees. If you lock your knees, first of all, I could just like probably push you and you fall over. Yeah, so your knees are kind of aligned with the ball of your foot, you know, the top part of your foot, and then your hip bone here are feeling like they're kind of sitting on your heel, aligned with your heel. So this kind of really, you see what happens when I do that? It's like I feel my whole body's bouncing and just kind of my upper. Yes, so the hip bones aligned with your heels, and then so your whole pelvic feels like is supporting the ribs and everything. Your shoulders, your shoulder blade, the pecs here, very. I like to think of my arms hanging. Shoulder blades. Yeah. Yeah, very good. And then of course, I think the next step after this, when everything's balanced, is to, the setup of the instrument is really important. And that's another can of worms that we could open. Having the good setup, having the shoulder rest cannot be too tall, because then you have to pull. Miss Tuttle used to say, bring the instrument to you, and you feel like you're cuddling the instrument. Often we gotta go. I see this. I give the viola to the students, and they're trying to stay where you are in a very normal, natural position, neutral position, and I'll bring the viola to you. And then I have them, of course, hold the instrument. And at first they're like this. They talk to me like this, and they're so tight. And I asked them to talk to me, and they're like, I said, do you talk like this to your friend? They're like, no. I'm like, so we're gonna find a way for you to feel very, right, where the instrument is not tight here, very bouncy, right? And I of course, is scared, and I said, well, do it above a bed or a carpet, make sure the viola doesn't drop, but trust that it's sitting between the collarbone and the jawbone right here. It's hooked right there, and everything. The instrument should feel a little flexible. And then in a neutral position. A lot of people, she was really keen of not having the neck turn around this way, but nice and straight, like in a neutral position, like I'm talking to you right now. Yes, and then can you tell them that drawing clavicule in it? Yeah, like kind of feeling like it's right, it's edge right there, but it's just holding there between. And feeling the instrument can be a little flexible, also bouncy, trying to. So I use a shoulder rest. Some people might not use one, but and Karen Tuttle used to say if there's a little spacing, fill it up with sponges. I've tried that. Sometimes I mean, a few years ago I used to use, yeah. Yes, because everybody is shaped differently. For me, this is the Artino with wood, actually enhance a little bit of the sound too. I like that for like students that have like cheaper instruments, it actually helps the sound. This has wood underneath. And for me, the shape, and I like the shape. For me, it fits perfect the angle here. But so making sure that the shape works for you. It's a long-term search for me. I don't always feel 100% comfortable. So sometimes I like a very, very low chin rest. So finding the right setup also very, very important. Yes. And remember that position is really not natural. It's like at least cellists when they play that they're a little sitting, they're a little more centered, but here, like putting this in between the neck is not very natural. So reminding yourself to keep the shoulders in a neutral position, feeling the arms hanging, that you don't lift the shoulders and all these things. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but always reminding yourself of that as you're practicing. If you're making changes, stopping every 10 seconds and redo a little check on that. It's really, really important. Good. One exercise I love to do with my students to make sure that their arms are grounded, that they're using gravity on the instrument, is something I did at Curtis. I had a Alexander technique class, and the first exercise that the teacher gave, he said, okay, I want you to pair yourself with somebody, and one person is going to put their hand underneath the elbow and support the arm. So the arm is just sitting there, right? And so yeah, it's something you can do with your even non-musicians, and you'll realize how much tension we actually hold. It's really incredible, and it's one of my favorite exercises. So the other person is holding the arm, supporting, so just let it go, and then the person holding the arm let go of the hand, and look at what the arm is doing. So right now, okay, I'm supporting, I remove what am I doing? I'm holding my arm right now. So we learn to just like let the arm hang. So at first the students are like this, they're kind of dropping their arm, kind of voluntary. They do it, they make it happen, but you want to let it happen just naturally. It's like falling and just hanging. So when you have to translate that to the viola, so I have them do the same exercise. They I'm holding their arm. I say, okay, let go. And what happens is this. Listen. So now I'm holding, right? And then when I let go, listen to the sound. Did you hear the bow hooked on the string goes? That was just natural weight of my arm. And you can get 10, 15 pounds just on your arm, just letting go. So drop, just hang. Trust your bow is supported by the string right here. You don't need to push into it. Just let it hang. So I look. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So this I'm holding now, bracing. Okay, and then when I let go, so my bow, of course, if I, yeah. And really feeling your sound, Miss L used to do this, say that all the time. Think it's coming all the way for the bigger muscles in your back. Yes, always never feel that you're bracing and then you're pressing from here. Feeling more of a, I like to think of the whole arm as one unit and then really getting. Yes, of course, there's, and sound has so many components, of course, you know, with bow articulation, bow speed, bow placement, bow distribution, weight. It's very, very complex, but just getting the, you know, open strings, just getting that feel, and then all the complexities after that, you know, it's all different, you know, staccato and everything. Yes, and you know, one thing that often we forget too is, as players, we focus so much here, right, on the sound, but I really believe 40% or 50% of your sound comes from the left hand as well. You know, the way you articulate things, the way you vibrate the notes, how to connect between the notes. I'm a big fan of left hand phrasing. That's something I would love to maybe talk a little bit about. Yeah. Yes. Going up bow. It's this whole release of the neck, that, you know, the coordination. You know, when, yes, not bracing, because if you brace, it gets really tight. It's all about, you know, sometimes some of the Carantol students, they describe it as the baseball, you know, how you throw a ball, and look at the motion today kind of naturally moves, right? So this is the same idea here when you're and feeling, I think the whole report, I mean, this is getting a little too much in details, but if we do also the sinking, I call this the sinking in, kind of go into the string. You get an extension of your sound at the end here. And if your neck is released, the sound will extend too. And then, I mean, it's really not bracing, it's really the secret. Yeah, the scoop, and then also the pull, the re-pull. It's a scoop. If you follow the bow and go woo like that. Yes, she said she calls it the re-pull, and over the bow or something also, that it could continue. Yeah, it's really amazing. It's just like, if there's no tension, you know, it works. No bracing, making sure that you're not holding, that you're letting go like this, and then releasing the neck. So this motion. There's a great video with Kim Kashkashian, visions of viola playing or something. It's all Karen, she talks about that. It's really, really amazing. So that, also another thing about tip playing is opening up the chest, not closing down. Yeah. Anything spiccato, anything?
Yo tengo varias, pero yo creo que sería muy extenso. Pero no nos ha hablado sobre su experiencia en Pittsburgh, en la orquesta, el concurso, qué repertorio específicamente en ese concurso y su experiencia de 24 años, me decía, en la orquesta. Entonces, ¿qué nos puede contar de la importancia de la viola, las características del violista de orquesta y específicamente la orquesta de Pittsburgh?
Great. Yes, I understood everything. Wonderful. Well, it's been an amazing journey. I have to say, it's just incredible. You get into this one of the best orchestras in the world, and the conductors. The conductor that hired me was Maris-Janssens. Unfortunately, he passed away a year or two ago. Incredible musician. You know, maybe not the best technical person, but just the most beautiful human being and musical and beautiful soul. He really was looking into colors and energy in the music. He was, I mean, he would bring the orchestra to play amazingly, like incredible concerts. With, I think the Pittsburgh Symphony has an energy that sometimes I don't see in other places. Maybe you know, but that's what people say. There's some energy and musicality coming out of the orchestra that is, yeah. Maris-Janssens. Yeah, beautiful player. And then he took us to, you know, we've been traveling the world with him. And then, and in Europe, maybe, I mean, people say Pittsburgh Symphony is more famous in Europe. I mean, people lined up at the proms, and, you know, to have those in the front, there's no seats, people stand up, and people can line up all day to get into, to be able to see right there and be right by the stage. Music Verein in Vienna, it's sold out, incredible. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Anyway, so the travel has, I think it is one of the silver lining of being in an orchestra. I absolutely love that. We've had when Janssens left, we had a group of 3 conductors. It was temporarily Janowski, I forget the other 2. Jan Pascal Tortelier, and the other one was oh shoot, sorry, I can't forget. Anyway, it's okay. And then we've had Manfred Honeck from Vienna, an Austrian conductor, wonderful, very an amazing musician as well. I think I've played my softest pianissimo in my life in this orchestra with Honeck. The colors, the effect that he creates is pretty incredible. We won a Grammy Award also, and we've been nominated a few times for recordings with him recently. Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh has been incredible to me, and I've been also teaching privately, like I mentioned, and also teach at a university, Duquesne University, for 14 years now. And I'm involved also with the youth symphonies. 2 of them, I'm the coach, principal coach for these 2 symphonies. Duquesne University, yeah. Any questions about, I mean, did you want to say anything about the audition or things like that, or? Yes, spiccato. Okay, good. So there's different kinds of spiccato. Of course, we have the sautier with the spiccato brush, shorter and everything. Yeah, so I really believe that the spiccato brush, spiccato, it comes from the détaché. So I always stress to get a really good détaché first. And I have the bouncing exercise where I let the string bounce the bow, really feeling the natural bounce. If there's any tension, that's not going to happen, right? So let it. Yes, basketball. I used to call this the little ball bounce, 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 and really feeling the bounce here. If you don't feel any of the ding, ding in the fingers, it means the fingers are too tight, like this. And very important that the hand hangs, not like this. But
Suelta, rebotando. Sí.
Yes. And then, so once you get this little bounce, natural bounce, and then you start rocking the bow a little bit. And if you notice, I'm bouncing from the upper arm, I mean the forearm, not here. Yeah, forearm. So you're rocking motion, so it feels like it's boom, little swing like this. It's never this kind of shape, but bum, 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 bum. So as it goes faster, it's just a little less of this, but really feeling again, if you need the arm weight, you cannot go, because the bow just wants to fall down. Yes. So I go a little faster. I always have the motor going here. It might get smaller motion and more towards the front of the hand here, not the fingers. Go faster. And if I want something louder, then I think more weight coming from this area of the bow. So try, if you try to go, see, it doesn't work. You need that support from the arm. Good. And so one of the exercises I give, I always say, starting with the détaché. First, détaché is a forearm motion, right? The fingers, if you see the fingers moving, they're just reacting to the arm motion. You're not initiating with the finger. It's not like that, huh? So I started from the string always, these exercises. So I can do 4 off. So the 4, 4, 4, and then do pulse. And then triplet. And you see the motion is very, very similar. I don't go. Too bad. I was just getting warmed up. I love talking about these kind of things. So, I mean, I could have talked about sautier and all this. Yes, of course. Of course.
Audition process?
Yes, because one thing that I love. Yes, yes, I want to talk about the, what I mentioned, the phrasing, the left hand, and also the phrasing, the bow distribution. I'm a big fan. Impossible, yes. And maybe some students can play. I would love to help out too. Maria looked excited right there. Okay, so for the repertoire in Pittsburgh, I'm happy to send a list if you'd like to see it. I can share that with. Yes, perfect. So I'll save some time. It's very standard. And of course, it's very standard. And then for the audition process, you mean just for the audition, well, Pittsburgh, most orchestras have 3 rounds. For Pittsburgh, the first round had had a screen, and they took the screen down for the second round. I didn't know that. So always be ready for anything that you don't expect. And then there was a final 2 weeks thing. Mm-hmm. And first round is usually very short, 2 minutes of your concerto. I mean, we put the timer. I've been on the other side of the jury. I mean, on the jury side many times, violin, flute, cello, you name it. 2 minutes of the concerto, usually solo piece. And then there's a list maybe of 5 excerpts. And usually you ask the most standard ones. Yes, very standard. Beethoven 5, maybe like a little spiccato, like scherzo. They might ask for Don Juan. Yeah, second round is usually a little longer, and the finals they can come to you and say, oh, can you play this a little faster? Can you adjust this, or can you do this one again? Or they can ask for a specific technical element or. Yes, and I would be happy to help out or say how to prepare for audition. That this would take more than 10 minutes. Of course. Well, it used to be easy. Now, if I take an audition, it's like crazy. It's really, really hard. It gets hard. I know. I thought, I just talk much. Well, it's true. We have. Yes. Well, thank you for having me. Yes. Well, Maria, who's here, thanks for showing. You want to play for me, Maria? I saw her, she was smiling when I said I will come back and people can play for me. Yes.
I'd like to play.
Which was. And then where's yours with me? It was nice.
Sí, vamos a buscarla.
I'll find it. This is at Harriet when we're standing with Victoria Chang. So me and Edward and Edmundo.
Yeah, Edmundo.
Okay.
Oops, I lost. Oh, where? I lost you there. I'm sorry, I must have pressed on something. I was trying to see. There was all these things in the chat I was trying to see. Anything solo, rep, or, you know, technique? Oh, yeah. Yes, it's incredible. It's, yeah, excerpts are very telling. That's what we say in English, like very telling. Yeah.
Ya. No, agradecerle montones a Marylène.
De nada.
Ha sido una mañana muy linda, hemos aprendido mucho. Y bueno, para mí fue igual especial. Esa foto quisiera tenerla. I want to have this picture.
Yes,
Dancing.
I'll send you the one I'm dancing.
Yeah.
You need to send me your email. I'll send it to you.
No,
Well,
no. No, muy lindo. Y a los participantes, bueno, es muy bonito conocer violistas de todos los países. Hemos hablado de distintos, nos faltaba hablar de Canadá. Yo los quiero invitar a buscar grabaciones también de la Orquesta Sinfónica de Montreal con Charles Dutoit, lo escuché en el 90, lindísimo. Hablamos del maestro Robert Berese, que también conocí, que vale la pena apuntar todos estos nombres, buscar información ahora que es tan fácil por internet y conocer nosotros mismos toda la historia de la viola a través de todos estos maestros. Y por supuesto, hemos pasado una mañana lindísima con Marylène, aprendiendo también de toda su experiencia con ellos y de su experiencia personal. Y por supuesto, esperamos con ansias en junio volver a reunirnos para, bueno, hacer una serie de preguntas y ver una serie de cosas que faltaron. Así que agradecerle, realmente ha sido muy lindo y ha sido muy bondadosa, como les digo siempre, haber compartido nosotros todo su conocimiento técnico y su experiencia. Gracias.
Yeah. Yes, and I would have liked to ask questions to the students too. I love to interact, and maybe next time. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was great. Yes, thanks.
Gracias y los dejo.
Chao, chao, chao. Hasta luego. Chao, chao.
Bye.